Hello, my name is Terrell Shaw, and I'm a student at Liberty University. And we have concluded our class for interpersonal communication. And this presentation is my interpersonal communication project for HSCO 508 for the summer 2014, being taught by Dr. Neil Gilliland. I'll first go into the objective of the course and how it relates to my field and to my goals. In my position, I'm currently in higher education, and I have the opportunity to contribute in many committees and initiatives, university initiatives. My primary role is an academic advisor, and it's extremely essential that I accomplish these listed objectives for the students' success. As a husband and father, our family goals can flourish or flounder depending on our communication. And these are overarching goals for my life and in my work as well as in my family. These objectives here highlights this, which is to expose my own personality type and communication skills, how they work and how they work together, to explore various communication skills types, both positive and negative, and then to expand my interpersonal communication skills. Course content for this class was individual research and assessment, class discussion and dialogue, course project and analysis. The materials used for the class is How to Solve the People Puzzle, Understanding Personality by Mel Carbonell. Bridges, Not Walls by John Stewart. Why Don't We Listen Better by James Patterson. Listening, The Forgotten Skill by Madeline Burley Allen. And finally, the motion picture Fireproof, directed by Alex Kendrick and starring Kirk Cameron. We'll first talk about knowing my own style. Everyone has a communication style, and for me, it was important for me to know what my style was so I can know how I communicate. A snapshot of my style says that I'm extremely adept to interpreting other people's words and actions, seeing things from their perspective, resulting in very few misunderstandings. I can generally get a good sense of what others are thinking and will likely adjust myself accordingly if the people I'm conversing with seem confused or perhaps uncomfortable. Also, in knowing my own style, we conducted a personality test and an assessment for Uniquely You, and mine discovered that I was a personality type I. Now, there's two parts to it. First off is this is what's expected of me, or how I should say what I think others expect me to behave, which is influencing, inspiring, interesting, interacting, and impressing. Now, how I feel and I think inside is that I tend to be more passive than active. I also have strong people skills. I can be both outgoing and reserved. For the behavioral blend, there is a combination of C, I, and S, that I'm not aggressive or pushy. I enjoy large and small crowds. On the other side is, I need to be more determined and dominant. I can do things well, but I am poor in quick decision making. Listening and building identities. Peterson says, acknowledging helps people accept themselves and feel real support from the listener. If I show that I acknowledge you, that person will feel more confident in themselves and more than likely be ready to listen a lot better. Peterson also says, feeling heard and understood has a lot to do with whether or not personal connection happens. There must be a personal connection for people to be more attentive. Burley Allen says, experiencing high emotions, either positive or negative, usually interferes with listening ability. So if I'm very angry, or if I'm very sad, or depressed, or emotional, then my listening skills are compromised. There are barriers to communications. First, personal and competitive needs interfere with taking time to listen. Then hearing what you want to hear. The listening exits when someone hears what they want, not really what is communicated. Sort of called selective hearing, we've heard people say before. Then there's what I value. What I value influences attentive and receptive, and I'm receptive. What I value influences how attentive and receptive I will be. If I value what you're saying and we have the same values, then I'm probably going to be more receptive and attentive to you. Then there's perception. Now that's also complementary of what I value. Perceptions are usually based on physical characteristics of the other person and a very limited set of observation of their behavior. I'm going to be selective in listening and communicating with you because of my perception of you, and that's a dangerous ground, and that's dangerous barriers for communication. Breaking down the communication barriers. There is an element of conflict. Now, conflict is not all bad. It's based in interaction. Conflict can produce new and creative ideas, release built-up tension, and strengthen relationships. In realistic conflict, it's based in disagreements over the means to an end. Non-realistic is expressions of aggression. The sole end is to defeat or hurt the other person. Productive conflict depends on flexibility, a wide variety of behaviors. And then destructive conflict is less flexible because the goal is more narrowly defined, which is they're trying to defeat the other person. Effective listening and communication walls. Two major walls that I recognized was attitude and nonverbal listening approach. In attitude is making sure that you adjust or you find the right attitude to be a part of. Otherwise, there will be a wall that's established and the listening skills are ineffective. Then there's nonverbal listening, the nonverbal listening approach by turning your head, looking down, leaning forward, or even folding your arms are all nonverbal listening approaches. A test was conducted in the University of Minnesota, and Burley Allen says effective listeners were aware of their personal biases and were better able to avoid making automatic judgments about the speaker and to avoid being influenced by emotion-charged words. Promoting dialogue. We all have a responsibility to promote dialogue, healthy dialogue, communicate one to another. James Peterson provided some amazing tools to visualize my effectiveness. The first one being, a cue card of sorts. There's a talker, and a listener side of each of the card, which gives quick bullet points of being an effective talker as well as being an effective listener. What should I listen for? What should I say? Then he talks about the stomach, heart, and head talk. Starting with the stomach, it's the inner nudges, what we're uncomfortable when we're uncomfortable or happy, the personal part of us. The heart talk gives and receives concerns, considerations of many options. And then the head talk, what's the logical part of us. That's where our creativity or our problem solving comes from. Stewart talks about letting the other happen to me. That means letting someone happen to you when you allow who they are to touch, connect with, or even influence you. But there's also the other side of it, which is to hold your own ground, assert yourself, and say what's exactly on your mind. So in conclusion, let's recap. To expose our personality types and communication skills is very important. So when we can expose how we interact and who we are, we can better communicate with one another. Then exploration, to explore various communication skills. I'm not a know-it-all, But in many cases, there are people that have to be willing to explore every facet of communications, whether it's verbal, nonverbal, being an active listener or passive listener, and then expanding our interpersonal communication skills. Proverbs 18:21 says, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue." So for us to be an effective communicator, it also means being one that brings life when you speak to someone. Let's engage. Let's engage in effective interpersonal talking and listening skills. How much am I willing to engage? Do I understand and master how to use my personality when engaging? Do I have the right attitude when I engage in communication? Well, thank you for your time. Thank you for tuning in and listening to my presentation on interpersonal communications. I thoroughly enjoyed the class. I encourage anyone who is looking for personal enrichment, or if it's for their degree, to definitely take advantage of this course and all of its content. Thanks so much and have a great day.